Thank you for watching this video. My name is Bill Bowermaster. I'm a World War II veteran. In a month and a half, I will be 95 years of age, God willing. My God has been good to me. He has given me the ability to speak, to listen, to think, and to be creative. 15 years ago, I attended a luncheon in Downey, California, and the main speaker was a gentleman by the name of Ernest Caldwell. Ernest told his story about growing up in Southern California. I was so impressed, I went up and introduced myself. And for the next 5 years, Ernest and I, every Thursday afternoon at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, would meet at Los Padrinos Juvenile Center, the incarceration center for Los Angeles boys and girls who have done wrong. Ernest and I spent 2 to 3 hours every Thursday afternoon speaking to a group of 50 to 100 boys or girls. Ernest told his story, and between the two of us, we tried to convince him that there was a different way in life. Recently, Ernest and I had lunch together, which we did frequently. And when lunch was ending, I asked him, what was the one thing missing in your life growing up? Without hesitation, he said, a mentor. Ernest's father was never part of his family. And thus began our new program, which is called A New Beginning for Kids at Risk. My friend and my partner, Ernest Caldwell.
Hi, my name is Ernest Caldwell, and I am part of the New Beginning. I think that what I want to do is I would like to just share a little bit about myself. I was born in Morganton, North Carolina. At the age of 5 years old, I came to California. I can remember one day my mother came to the school to pick us up, and she said, we're leaving North Carolina. I asked her, I said, Mom, where are we going? She said, you will know when you get there. I said, okay. So we got on the train, and we headed to California. But I asked her, I said, Mom, why are we leaving? She said, because your father was very abusive, and I just can't take it anymore. So at that age of 5 years old, I kind of understood, but I just seen the pain in her face and a voice that made me feel it. So we got to California, and I stayed with my aunties and uncles for years. And we moved out of there, and we got our own little place. And my mother was a very strong person. But it was times when we grew up got a little older, I was one of the ones that was very much rebellious. And I can remember times when she called discipline was times when she would just lock us into a closet. And sometimes we'd be in the closet for up to 2 days. And I don't know, it seemed like every time I think of that, I feel it like today. It's something that I never was able to get rid of. But I know that was the way she was trying to just get us to do right. And on through the years, as I grew up, it was so much dysfunction in the family. But I had to make a decision on how to deal with this, and I decided to go to the streets. And that's what I did, because I had no one a role model. I had no one to give me guidance. So I left out, at like 11 years old, I left out the house and went out into the streets doing things that I shouldn't have been doing because I really didn't know no better. But I can remember at the age of 12 years old, I got into trouble and we ended up in juvenile hall. And I stayed there for a couple of days and got out back and forth as a youngster, not really knowing what I was actually doing. But when I got to be 16 years old, I began to get into more problems and more issues, and yet still I had no one to look up to. I had no one to give me guidance, no uncles, no father, nobody, and I was the oldest one in the family, so I was like the leader of my family. So as I began to grow, I began into more troubles. I got into drugs at an early age. I got into gangs at an early age, and I ended up in the prison. I went to prison, and I was sentenced to 15 years of life, and I did 21 years in prison. And at the time I went into prison, I was 20-some years old, and I couldn't even read and write. I mean, I couldn't actually read and write. But somehow I made it through the streets without even knowing how to read and write. And I recall in 1987, when I was in prison, that I was just sick and tired of the gangs. And I was in my cell, and I was weighing about 100 pounds, soaking wet, and I'm honest, I was using drugs in there. I was drinking in there. And so I stood in front of that mirror one day, and I said, if there is a God, please help me, because I can't do this by myself. And I started to cry, and I felt something come over me. At that time, I didn't know what it was. But I also heard a song called Man in the Mirror by Michael Jackson. It said, if you make a change in your life, you have to start with you. And when that anointing came over me, I began to say, I got to make a change. Right then and there, that day, I was able to flush away the drugs, flush away the alcohol, and my life was turned around that day right there. Not knowing what that feeling was, but as I got older and got myself together inside of prison, I went to school. I learned and I got my GED. I went to every program I possibly could go through to better myself. AA, NA, Gavel Club, you name it, I was trying to do it. It's because I knew in order for me to get free, I had to get rehabilitated. And I had to rehabilitate myself. And that's where people go wrong, thinking that the system can rehabilitate you. The system have tools that they give you in there to rehabilitate yourself with. And I took the time to get myself rehabilitated. And it took me years and years to do that. But one of my biggest things that I had to do is I had to walk away from that gang. So one day I called a meeting and I said, I am done. I will no longer be a part of this gang. And at the time, it is said the only way out is death. So I took a knife and I laid it on the table and I stood in front of them and I said, if you want to kill me, you go ahead and kill me because I am done living this lifestyle. No one killed me. No one did anything to me. They just said, you are on your own, and we have no love for you whatsoever. Anything happened to you, it's on you. So I walked away from that, and like I said, I got my education. I went back to school. I went to everything I could possibly do to rehabilitate myself. And 14 years later, I was going through the board system, going in front of the board, and they finally found me suitable for parole. And that was one of the most proudest moments of my life. But I just want you that's hearing me to understand is that it takes a whole lot, and I mean other members, family, love, in order for anyone to be successful and get out of prison. It starts in there, not when they get home. But trust and believe that the system gives each and every one of them in there the tools that they need in order to be free. But it's their choice to pick up and use these tools. And that's what I did. I picked them up and used them. And when I got home, that's when I met Mr. Bill Bowermaster. As he said, we was going in to juvenile hall, and that was one of my goals in life when I said, when I go home and get on the streets, my focus is to help all the youth that I possibly can. Not just youth, but any and everybody else that I can share my life with and use my experience to turn their lives around. That's what I want to do today. I want to take all my past experiences and give to these families, not just the kids, but to the families, the mothers and sisters and brothers. We want to be a team to work and bring everybody together. Where do we start at? We start with the family. Then we start with the drug use, the gangs, because let me just say this, that a lot of times in the family, why young people can't look up to their parents or look up to anyone because they're doing the same thing that they tell their kids not to do, drinking, using drugs in the gang. So we need people that they can look to and say, that guy or that lady is not involved in any of this stuff. So they will listen to you because they know that you are practicing what you are preaching. And that's what it's all about. And I know in the new beginning, this is going to be a program that's going to turn a lot of young people's lives around. But it's also going to be a program that's going to help them parents to be better parents. And that is our goal. Our goal is to do whatever we can to turn a young person's lives around. And that I am so grateful for Mr. Bill Bowermaster because he always believed in me. And I've been here for 15 going on 16 years and haven't been in any problems. I have dealt with all types of issues in my life, but one thing that I can say is this. I've been alcohol-free, drug-free, going on almost 30 years. And that is something that I am so proud of. Trust and believe. Drugs, gangs, and dysfunctional family will destroy a life. We are here to build them up, and we're going to do everything in our power to bring a better life to these young people that's in need. I want to thank you. For just listening to me and my story. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you for watching our video. I hope you took time to observe our brochure. We are convinced that this unique program will turn around a lot of lives. We plan to start this program on a trial basis here in Orange County. Ernest Caldwell will be our first and only mentor for a period of 1 year. After 1 year, we plan to take this throughout the United States to every major city. Will you please help us? We do need your help. Thank you for listening, and God bless.